Your hair is getting a little bit too long, and you know it's about that time to go to the barber. You start scrolling on your phone, social media, Safari, Google, and you look for pictures of the perfect haircut. As soon as you land on the haircut that you want to get, you get ready to show it to your barber. You go to the shop, sit down in the chair, and show them exactly what you want and explain in detail how you want them to do it. But as soon as you hear them start cutting your hair, something feels off. By the time it's done, you look in the mirror, and you feel like you aren't even yourself. It does not look good, and a tear almost sheds your eye. The thing is, I know this story too well, and I think most guys do too, and it's because you don't know how to actually get a good haircut. But in this video, I'm going to explain everything that you should know to get the perfect hairstyle for you, not just in general, but the perfect hairstyle for you specifically. Starting off with something you've probably never heard of, which is hair and facial framing. So when it comes to getting a haircut, you should not just get the best haircut. And you're probably thinking, that makes no sense. Why wouldn't I get the best haircut? Well, the thing is, the best haircut doesn't actually exist. There's haircuts that look good on some people that might not look good on other people. And this is because of the hair facial framing that I was just talking about. The difference between somebody who tries to look good and somebody who actually looks good is basically prioritizing their face. So the question is, how can you do that? Well, there's a few key aspects to facial framing that you need to learn to get the best haircut. Starting off with the most simple, which is your ears. So if you're somebody with really wide protruding ears that go out very far, most of the time you shouldn't get haircuts that are too short on the sides because your ears are going to be sticking out like crazy. Now, this is not the end all be all, but it definitely will make a big difference, and it's something that you should think of before you get your haircuts, because no matter how good the hairstyle looks, if you're insecure about your ears and they're sticking out like crazy, you're probably not going to like it. Secondly, you have your jaw framing. So this right here is called your ramus. It's basically this section of your jaw. Now, the thing is, for guys specifically, to look masculine and look good, you want to have a long ramus, which means you need to be cutting your sideburns at the perfect length to emphasize that. So basically what you should be doing is the people who have the shorter ramuses should be cutting their sideburns higher up, and people with longer ramuses can leave them more towards the middle area, about the middle section of your ear. I have about a medium-sized ramus, so what I do is I cut my hair right at this central section a little bit above, just to elongate it a little bit. This gives your face better framing from the side profile, making you look more angular and just masculine in general. Part number 3 that you should focus on is side profile framing. So you'll see that my hair sticks out a little bit, and that's why this sort of fluffy hair that's gotten so popular over the last few years has stuck around for the test of time. It's because it's the best facial framing for the most part, unless you have the features I'm about to go over. So the question is, when should you get your hair to protrude basically out this way? Well, the answer is actually very simple. It's based on your brow ridge right here and your forehead. If you're somebody who has a sort of flat face that isn't forward growing, that's when you should always have your hair growing out. And even some people who do have a forward growing face should get hair that goes out to the front. But more specifically, you want to look at 3 main features. The first thing is called your mandibular projection, which is this part of your jaw, aka like your chin area. Secondly is your nose, and thirdly is your brow ridge. The more that these 3 features go out, the less you actually need to basically make your hair go out, unless you have a big nose. So people who have a big nose, it's all about proportions to make it look smaller. So let's say you have a nose that goes out really far and you're insecure of that. Having hair that goes out far is actually going to make it look like your nose is smaller, even though it doesn't make sense. Now, let's say all of your other features are normal, but you have a brow ridge that goes out far. For you, it's going to be less important because this is a very dominant and masculine feature. So even if your hair doesn't go out in the front, maybe you want to have a middle part or something like that, maybe a buzz cut, it's going to look good on you because this is a masculine feature. You also want to cover your bad facial features and keep the ones that look good. So for example, I'm somebody with dark, thick eyebrows. That is a masculine feature that looks good on me, which is why I should never have my hair go and cover that. Now for you, if you have very thin or narrow eyebrows, or maybe they don't look the best, covering it with your hair is not a bad idea. And the same thing goes for face shape. If you're somebody with an angular face, a lot of times you want to show that off because that's a sign of health, attraction, fertility, everything like that. Now, let's say you're someone with a really rounded face. What you could do is essentially grow your hair out very long to cover it. That's this upper third corner that I am going to mention. So for me, because I have a wide face on the midsection, I actually cover it up very slightly with the hair on this upper corner of my head. This actually slims my face just enough to look good. But let's say you're somebody with a very rounded face. What you could do is actually grow this out to cover this part of your head. Now, you would have to get a haircut that matches. Obviously, you don't just want to have hairs growing, sticking out like that. But for you, growing out like a middle part or maybe just a flowy hairstyle could look better. So that way you can use your long hair to cover this part of your face. But with learning facial framing, it's absolutely essential that you learn the next thing, which is which products to use. See, the thing is, once you get the facial framing right, your barber could actually mess up the rest of your hair and it could still come out looking good if you use the right hair products. This is Simpletics all natural hair products. We are Amazon's choice. And by the way, I'll link these in the description. But yes, this salt spray right here here is the most recommended on Amazon, and it was created by us. It's 5 natural ingredients. You spray it in your hair. It makes your hair wave up and look a lot better. This is best for wavy to curly hair or straight hair if you really just want texture. Now, if you're someone who wants extreme hold, that's where you come in with something like the texture powder. This has a pump mechanism that you can use to basically pump the powder into your hair. It'll absorb grease, oil, it'll make your hair stiff, and it'll make it stand up. Now, the reason these are so important is because of the first thing I went over, which is facial framing. When you know how to frame your face the right way, like I was saying, even if the haircut you get is bad, it doesn't matter as long as you frame your face the right way and use the right hair product. So by using these styling tools, for example, I can make my hair stand up in the front if I want to. I can make my hair cover the more wide sides of my face to make my face look slimmer. I can make my side profile silhouette look better. For example, if you're somebody with the back of your head that is flat, what you can do is add some texture powder in your parietal ridge, which is this section of your hair right here. And what that's going to do is actually make it stand out, giving you a better silhouette from the side. At the end all be all, framing is key, like the first tip I was giving, but it becomes very hard to properly frame your face if you don't use hair products, which is why I recommend Simpletics. That's what this whole channel is about. We use all natural ingredients and we never skimp on them. There's a reason that we're the highest rated on Amazon, and I highly recommend trying it out. After learning about styling your hair to frame your face, it is quintessential that you keep your hair, and that's why I recommend following a hair growth protocol. This right here is minoxidil. It's a 5% solution that's basically liquid, and you can put it on your scalp to make your hair grow in faster, thicker, and fuller. If you're somebody with thin hair, this is one of the best things you can use. Now, that being said, when it comes to hair loss, it's not going to stop your hair from thinning if that's the issue, but if you just have generally thin hair, this will fix the problem essentially. Now, on the other hand, androgenic alopecia, which is actually male pattern or female pattern baldness, that's where you need to come in with something called a DHT blocker. DHT is dihydrotestosterone, and it's essentially the hormone that causes you to start losing your hair over time. To prevent this, there's 3 mechanisms you could use, but there's 2 that I actually recommend. So the first thing that you could use that I don't necessarily recommend to everyone other than teens is actually a hair loss oil. So by applying oils to your scalp that have saw palmetto extract, pumpkin seed oil, essentially these oils will block the DHT a very small amount. But it's kind of gone to show that using DHT blockers like hair loss oils are only minimally effective, and the reason I don't recommend it for anyone other than teens is because during your teenage years, your hormones are very important, so like DHT and everything like that. So the actual strong blockers that block your dihydrotestosterone could actually cause issues in your development if you're still developing. Now, if you're towards the end of puberty or you've completely finished, that's where you come in with the actual strong DHT killers. The best ones that you can use are known as finasteride and dutasteride. These are liquid or foam solutions that you can actually apply to your scalp to completely block the DHT in your scalp. Now, for these, you could take pill forms, but the issue is this will systematically spread the DHT killer, causing your entire body to kind of get thrown out of whack, which is why applying it to your scalp is so much better. Now, when you apply liquid solutions or foam solutions of finasteride or dutasteride to your scalp, the only issue is a small amount will still absorb into your bloodstream, but it's about 5 to 7%, depending on the concentration of the finasteride or dutasteride. And then that begs the question, of those 2, which one would I recommend? So finasteride is strong, but it's not the strongest. Dutasteride is like the absolute strongest DHT blocker that I'm aware of and that most people know of in general. Most people do start out with finasteride because it's seen, or at least I've been told, that it has less side effects, and I also use finasteride myself and I feel completely fine, while dutasteride is kind of known as the stronger version of finasteride. But essentially, this will keep your hair from thinning and your hair follicle from dying, meaning that you're not going to go bald or even have thinning hair if you use it for long enough. But do keep in mind, if you quit using minoxidil or finasteride or dutasteride, you will revert back to your previous progress. So if you were thinning or balding, you're going to resort back to that essentially when you stop. But when you really think about it, you can kind of apply this as if you're brushing your teeth. Every night when I brush my teeth, I just spray the finasteride minoxidil blend on my head, and then my hair grows just fine. And then now that you're sure that you're not going to lose your hair, it then comes down to the experimental phase. You don't really know what hairstyles will look good on you until you experiment with them. And what I recommend for this is the 1-2 test. So I recommend getting basically 2 hairstyles that you can try, a short one and a long one. This will give you a general idea of what you think looks better, and it'll suit your roles and basically how you want to be perceived. For example, many times longer hair can be seen as less professional and it's better for younger people, while short hair comes off as more professional, just more clean in general, which is why I recommend finding one that's good for both. When it comes to experimenting, just use the first tips that I gave you, apply them, and you're actually going to come out looking really good. Hopefully this video helped. I know it's simple, but the whole process of getting nice looking hair actually is more simple than it seems. It just comes down to really facial framing, using the right products, and basically making sure you don't lose your hair. There is a lot more depth to go into, which I will soon, but for now, these are the main things that you need to know.